Where do I begin? So, this is something that's been happening since I can remember. I don't want to give a time on it. But as an artist, this has been happening since people found out I was an artist. And the reason why I initially never told anybody that I was an artist and stuff like that is the same reason why I limit my conversations on social media. I limit exposing or expressing people I'm associated with, people I'm connected to, and that's in every walk of life, and I do that on purpose. When you are a type of person, for whatever reason, where people look at you in a certain way, like people in general, when people are operating from their lower faculties, when people are grossly emotionally immature, they tend to scrutinize other people. And I'm going to talk more about that in the next video. So I'm trying to break these videos down so I don't have these long videos, because I already said I'm not going to edit them. And one day, that last video that I uploaded, I said I wasn't going to edit these videos. And a couple of hours later, I got bored and I uploaded the video, and I was in the video editing program trying to edit it. And I had an issue with a mishap with the program where I was trying to just upload that one video into the program, and somehow it ended up with the mishap of everything everything that my photo video folder got uploaded into the program and jammed the program up, and I started laughing so hard. And the reason why I started laughing, because everybody have the capacity. I don't want to say not everyone can have the capacity to see things on a more spiritual level, from a spiritual level, meaning I know when I said and I made that declaration that I'm not going to edit these videos, that just me uttering those words, that spoke a reality. And it didn't speak a reality just because I said it. It's not everything that you say that just because you said it, it's going to, the universe is going to start moving in that direction and make sure it happens. No, everything goes with intent. My intentions was true and real. I don't want to edit these because I don't have time to edit these. I don't get paid to make these videos. There's nothing about me and monetization on social media, even though I have creative accounts or business accounts. I don't get paid. I don't have the engagements to the point where I get paid for this stuff. But for marketing, and also because I want to make performance art, and since I've been on social media, I've been using it as a tool for performance art. And when I say performance art, that doesn't mean I'm lying or acting or any of that. It just means that the way that I am delivering whatever I'm delivering, the way I am expressing expressing myself, and it's one of those days, huh? But performance art doesn't mean that I'm acting or I'm doing make-believe or I'm pretending. It means that the way that I am expressing myself, I'm expressing myself in a particular manner, in a more performative manner, in the attempt to deliver a message, deliver an ideal, to deliver my words, or in this instance, his words. So I really intended and had the intent that I'm not editing these, because I know that it's going to take too much time and too much work. When they have people who are professional content creators, and that's pretty much what they do, it's a lot of work with editing video. I edit video when I'm making art movies. I'm a creator in general, so I have a lot of projects I'm working on. So it's not like I could just focus on just coming on here and making content. Now, if I got paid for it and there was a financial, let's say a financial, I don't want to say consequence or repercussion, but if I was financially getting paid enough to support myself, I would then start focusing on the way I edit videos, and even focus on the content that I make a lot more. So I have a bare minimum of how many videos I want to and will post, because I don't get enough engagements to spend so much time on that. And that's bringing me right back to the point I was trying to make. Happy Gemini season. I tend to not let people know that I'm an artist, or let people know the different things that I can do. Just like in certain situations, I don't reveal things about like what's on my resume and the skills I have. And that's just, I don't reveal the people I'm connected to, associated with, none of that. And that really just keep the majority of cloud chasers away, the majority of people who are trying to use me and bother me and all this others. That keep the majority of them away. Unfortunately, it don't keep them all away, but as long as it keep the majority of them away. So I don't expose anything that no more than I need to expose. I don't work on videos and social media content no more than I need to. I don't spend time in the paint at my easel or in my paint room painting no more than I need to. I don't do any of that no more than I need to. So I was liking before I hit record, I was liking my process because I've been teaching myself a new process and a new pattern of the way I create art. And I'm in a process of creating that system, that process. And that in itself is going to take time. It's going to take a lot of trial and error, mostly error. It's going to take a lot of finding out what doesn't work and finding out what does work. And unfortunately, with anything to be successful, 80-90% of what you're trying to do is going to be failure. Failure is part of the process of success. And it all depends on what you consider success. So anyway, I liken this new process because what I used to do, I used to be fast. When I'm working on a painting, I'm bolting it out, and I'm up for 2-3 days, and I'm up all day standing up in front of the canvas, and I'm just pop, 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 pop. And that served me for that time, for the type of art I was making. And life is about growth, and with growth comes change. So my process is more slow. And I likened, before I came on and hit live to start this video, I likened my process to gumbo. Depending on who's making the gumbo, people have different processes of making gumbo. But gumbo is supposed to be a long, lengthy process. It's supposed to take you the whole day to make that gumbo. A 12-hour gumbo tastes much different than a 2-hour gumbo. And both can be delicious. But with that 12-hour gumbo, it hits your palate on multiple levels. It affects your taste buds in a more profound manner. So right now, with me recovering, just emotionally recovering from a life of trauma and no woe is me, no cry me a river type situation. That's the world we live in. We live in a world where we experience trauma. Some of us more often than others. Some of us more extensive than others, but we're all experiencing trauma. So I went from the 2-hour gumbo, because that served me at the time of what I was working on and what I was doing. And before the 2-hour gumbo, I'm talking about my painting process, I used to start off making a 12-hour gumbo. Meaning it used to take me days and weeks, and I went through this lengthy process of completing just one painting. And then I went to this fast. See, the way I do things, and this is just my process of thinking, and more than likely because I'm a Gemini, I'm operating on 2 poles at one time. So when I'm trying to get something done, that's why I say I understand coming into the game that failure is a part of the process. And I've been saying this for decades. I go into situations to fail. I go into situations to fail because I'm going into situations that I'm trying to learn. And with learning comes the proverbial failure. So I went from a 12-hour gumbo, and then I went to the 2-hour gumbo. So I've already had 2 poles, and this is the way I operate. I go from one extreme to the next, and I study one extreme, I study this extreme, and then I find out which way I'm going to gauge it, more towards this extreme, more towards that extreme, and sometimes it may be straight in the middle. It may be that middle ground, but you, just like with calculus, algebra, mathematics, you have to find the median, and to find the medium, you have to define the 2 points. You have to define the 2 poles to find the medium. So I go from this extreme to that extreme. So if I've already been through to the extreme of the 12-hour gumbo, then I went to the extreme of the 2-hour gumbo. So now I'm just carefully gauging, what do I want to continue to do 12-hour gumbo? In some situations, it will require that that's a 12-hour gumbo. Or do I want to make a 2-hour gumbo? In some situations, it's going to require, for that process to get the type of aesthetic I need done, is going to be a 2-hour gumbo. But my process, as a rule of thumb, is the medium point between 2 and 12. Look how far I'm going. This is so Gemini. The medium point between 2 and 5 would be 6, right? Not 6. Would it be 5? My first thought was 5. Then I said 6. I don't know why I said 6. So I'm going to go with 5, since that was my first thought, and I don't feel like thinking. I think it's 5. So I did a lot of work last year. And then I decided, because that was always my trauma response. My process of dealing, or not really avoiding personality, avoiding dealing with and really addressing my issues, was workaholic, perfectionist. All that's a trauma response. So now I've been reprogramming my mind. And also, what's important about that is to pay attention when I'm just dove and lost myself into a body of work, to stop myself and hit brakes on it hard, and to stop myself and to let myself know that I am doing that thing again, and I find out why. So when I'm not working, it feels like I'm not accomplishing anything. And all that is psychological, it's all emotional, it's all not true. And that goes back to where I started off with this video. A lot of times when people don't see you physically doing something, they don't see you sweating at your brow. And all that goes on in the plantation. Our ancestors had to constantly be doing something, constantly proving their worth, and worth in the manner of one human being, or some human beings, literally took money and purchased us, and we had to prove our worth in that manner. And now, because we're still stuck in that paradigm of our ancestors, and now we're in the age of Aquarius, you see this massive movement, this massive spiritual awakening, where we're leaving that old paradigm. Right now, some people call it the soft era, or whatever they want to call it. But we're leaving or some of us have already left. Let's be real. Some of us already left that paradigm, and that's why we was looking crazy 20, 15, 10, 15 years ago. We was looking crazy to some people because we had already foreseen, and spiritually, by being depending on the level that you're spiritually in tune, our spirits had already started giving us indication to leave that old paradigm. So some of us, we've been left that paradigm, but as a collective, people as a collective, we're leaving that old paradigm. And by leaving the old paradigm, that means now redefining what our worth is, and also not overworking ourselves, not always having to show that we're doing so. You at a job, oh my goodness, at jobs, some management will not tolerate and don't accept and frown upon you having downtime while they're paying you on the clock. But the difference is our ancestors wasn't paid. But anyway, and so some of our ancestors were paid later on in that process. I say that process, through that system of physical incarceration called slavery. So later, in the later years of physical bondage, physical incarceration on a plantation, slavery, our ancestors were getting paid. They weren't getting paid their worth. They were getting paid pennies on the dollar, and that's just to incentivize them to continue to make the dollars. No different than today. That's what I'm saying. When you're stuck in a paradigm, you're going to, let's go back to the mean and medium. When I was saying one pole, other pole, you're going to bounce in between these two poles. You're going to bounce between lows and highs. And that's in your personal life. If you're codependent, trauma bonded, suffering from trauma, you're stuck in a paradigm. And what happens is, like that, a ball bouncing, and you can only operate within here. And collectively, some of us have already gotten to a point where we know that that's really an invisible ceiling. So I've been, for myself, being more patient and giving myself a lot of grace to understand that that's not helping my creative process of constantly just work, the John Henry concept. And you know, at the end of the story, John Henry, he won, but he died of exhaustion. He passed out and died of exhaustion right after he won. Now, technically, I am experiencing certain levels of exhaustion. Most of it is emotional, but it's still exhaustion, which is understandable for the things I've been through in life. So over 10 years ago, I started reprogramming my mind away from that John Henryism of that work, 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 work. So, back to what I was saying, when people who shouldn't even be looking at what I'm doing anyway, a lot of people miss that point. I never miss it. I'm always mindful of that when people are minding my business. Who's in possession of that business? It's my business. So why are you minding my business? Why are you worrying about what I'm doing? So when people are if you're a type of person where you attract a lot of attention, which means with everything, there's always at least two things going on. It's always that duality. You're on one extreme to the next. You're going to have people who love you, and at the same time, on a different pole, you're going to have people who, I wouldn't say hate you, but they despise you for the same reason why people love you. And it's not like they personally have a problem. Some people do personally have a problem with me, but it's not like majority of the time it's because they personally have a problem with you and they hate you because of that. Most of the time, these people are operating from their lower faculties, so they're stuck in this paradigm of comparatism where their worth or their idea of their worth, their sense of worth, how about that? Their sense of worth is by them comparing themselves to another person or other people. And that's all on them. That's not my issue to deal. So with that, they're not really looking at you, and I'm going to talk about all that in the next video. They're not really looking at you. They're seeing some lack within themselves, and they're projecting those feelings they're having onto other people. So while you have people that love you, if you have that type of personality, at the same time, it go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Now, on this pole with the people who despise haters and people who project their crap onto somebody like me, a lot of times they don't even know who I really am and know things about me. So when they're projecting stuff onto me, they don't understand that I have a gauge of something else where I don't have to, and I don't at all take whatever their criticism or their scrutiny, their criticism, or whatever they're doing. I don't take that personal. I don't care. And when you have that type of personality, you have people that then they come cross boundaries and they want to be seen. They want to be felt. They want you to know how they feel and all this other crazy shit, you know? But I have a whole life, and on top of me having a whole life, I have a whole status. I have a whole when you see, usually when people target certain people, and recent when I've been off to myself and stuff like that, it's been drawing in extremely weak people who target people who process because you choose to rock alone. In their minds, they process that as you're vulnerable and you are a mark and you're easy to abuse. And see that only weak people operate like that. And you will mess your whole life up and your whole world up by, like the tennis. They hit that ball over the net, and you could sit up there and you could go try to catch that ball and hit that ball back. But not most of the time, I let that shit, they gonna hit it out of bounds anyway. They're gonna hit it out of bounds because their whole thought of the situation and what they're starting off with is incorrect. They're out of bounds anyway, so the ball gonna be out of bounds. So let me finish this, wrap up this thought. So when people know or find out you're an artist, and if you're not just constantly just posting art, or you're not constantly just working hard, work, that's constant working and constant showing and telling is a form of trying to prove your worth. I make 12-hour gumbo. So I may be working and you don't know I'm working. Or you have people who scrutinize what's work to them and what and may consider what I'm doing not work. That's all on them. So let me wrap this up. In my endeavors and through my little adventures in life, this old man was teaching me how to make jewelry with beads. And he kept saying, trust the process and follow the pattern. And he kept saying that so I could focus on my beading. Because there's a pattern to beading. There's a pattern to everything. There's a pattern to success. So when I'm saying that work, that's counterproductive to being successful. And being successful is contingent on what you're doing. Being successful in the manner of what I'm trying to accomplish. That's why it doesn't matter what other people are thinking or scrutinizing about me. They have no idea what I'm doing or how to even interpret my actions. So, yeah. That's it.